Hello to everyone. This is V. Srinivas Rao, also known as VSR. I am the chairman for Smart Cities Working Group, IET Future Tech Panel, India. So we are going to talk about a very interesting topic, how geospatial technologies impact the cities and how it will changes the social inclusion level and the economic growth within the city. I have my friend and esteemed guest today, Rajesh Mathur. So I'm going to have some informal chat. So let me introduce you briefly to the audience. Rajesh is a senior advisor of ESRI India Technologies Limited, a subsidiary of ESRI Inc., the world's largest provider of GIS software. So prior to this, he has held the position of vice chairman of the board and president of the company. He is an active member of the water working group of the IET Future Tech panel, and he has been contributing for the various professional bodies and communities. And his passion is on geospatial technologies. He believes that geospatial technologies will keep India rocking in the coming years. Thanks, Rajesh.
Thank you.
So in the last couple of months, Rajesh, we have been working under IET with you to come up with a white paper on how these geospatial technologies empower the cities. Precisely, we call them as software-defined smart cities. So let me start with a very important question like, how do you define a geo-enabled or geospatial-enabled smart city? What does it mean? Can you please share our thoughts there, Rajesh?
Yeah, sure. See, geospatial technology is essentially about location analytics, location intelligence. In other words, location as a key information parameter. So when you call a city a geo-enabled city, what we're saying is we are embedding location information into various business processes, various workflows. We are also geotagging various assets like utility network, amenity like schools, hospitals, and so on and so forth. We are also integrating GIS into various application areas like property tax management, urban planning, and utilities, water utilities, and so on and so forth. With this capability, you can answer questions: where should I locate the next school so that all eligible children are within, say, 2 kilometer radius of the school facilities? Or which are the areas where there's been a surge of pandemic in the last, say, 7 days, and therefore where should I locate the next containment zone? How are our hospitals in a clinical service those who are affected in that area? So questions which are related to location as a key information parameter would be by geo-enabled city.
Super. So I think the location is the key. That means if I understand right, if you know the location of a particular person or a particular object or a particular asset, anything, then I think the way we execute also change. So how we know that location, the geospatial technologies will really help. Is that right understanding, Rajesh?
Absolutely, very true. Yeah.
Okay.
Really means because see, in a city, whatever happens somewhere. If we know the location on a map, we would be better equipped to respond to it, especially when you are running a command and control center. So if there's any event, an accident or any such event, once you can see it on the map, on the digital wall, you immediately know what action needs to be taken to deal with that development.
Right, understand. Excellent. Okay. So now coming to geospatial technologies, there are so many. We call it about GPS, GIS, LiDAR, radar, remote sensing, all these we call geospatial technologies. Then let us talk about in specific GIS. And city is nothing but system of systems. There are so many functions will be there in the city. So it is energy management, water management, health management, education, city governance, so many. I mean, there might be more than 20 functions. So can you please highlight how this GIS specifically help in improving the performance of these city functions? Could you please share briefly on this particular topic?
Absolutely. I think the starting point would be building the urban plan or the master plan for the city. A GIS ready master plan will enable you to ask what if questions. If I set up a commercial center in this area, what would be the impact on traffic in that area?
Hmm.
Set up the residential colony here, how will the existing the transportation system be able to deal with the requirements of the residents? If the non-revenue water, that the water that dispersed from the source but not billed to the consumer, if that's going high, how can I plug the leakages? Where is the leakage occurring? Respond to it quickly so that we can minimize the loss of water.
Hmm.
Is property tax management. GIS mapping helps you in identifying all the properties, exact details, the area covered, the land use pattern, is it commercial, residential, and with that you can increase the property tax realization substantially. And there are case histories here in our own country where cities which adopted GIS mapping could find significant increase in their property tax realization. And so that's another area where cities benefit. Also responding to disasters. When we had the pandemic, we have the pandemic situation, rather not had, unfortunately yet. The cities converted their command control centers into war rooms so that they can respond to the disaster very rapidly. They could use time series maps to see not only which are the areas where the infections are rising, they could also monitor the impact of interventions. Like if a certain area was declared as a containment zone, what was the impact on the new infections being reported? So complete impact analysis in a time series map can be extremely beneficial to optimize the resource allocation and also decision making. So a number of benefits, and there are many more I can go on.
Hmm.
These are some of the ones which are important.
So I think you mentioned property tax. I heard in Hyderabad, I heard they collected 1,700 crore odd. But one of the policymaker when I met, he is saying there is a potential of 3,000 crores. But still we collected. But this itself, they feel it is high. But so I think, as you said, the GIS will certainly help in finding the properties, maybe the size or maybe the location where the tax is paid or not. So that's very interesting thing. And you also mentioned about the effective allocation of resources, especially the government resources. When there is a water problem or a power problem or a sanitation problem, exact location is known. You don't need to really search for where the problem. I think you can directly go there and do that.
And
So
also the
that's
amenities like hospitals, schools, and so on, parks, green spaces.
okay.
So,
So what do you think in the last 1 year, everybody is facing a lot of challenges with COVID-19. So do you see any value added with these geospatial technologies? Can you highlight some of the benefits?
oh, absolutely. See, if you look at the strategy adopted by authorities worldwide, not just here in India, whenever an infection is reported, they immediately do contact tracing. Who all did this person meet over the last, say, 14 days or so? And typically it's been a P2P mapping. But if you bring in location also, where all did this person go in the last 14 days? You could also monitor which other locations might have been impacted because of this super spreader, as you may call that person. So in contact tracing, GIS has been used extensively, including here in India in several cities. It's been
Okay.
used time series maps, as I mentioned. It's been used to make dashboards, and the dashboards are very useful. In fact, I think the lead was given by Johns Hopkins University in the US, where they used a dashboard to depict the situation in real time, what's happening where in US and also in several other countries. Similar dashboards have been made by several cities in the country, NDMA, National Disaster Management Authority, a lot of state government, Directorate of Health, and GIS mapping gave an overview of how the situation on the ground is, which are the areas which are more affected than the others.
Okay.
Also mapping the resources, hospital, bed capacity, testing facilities, the vaccination centers in today's context. The number of applications where GIS has been used very, very extensively.
I think we spoke about different sectors, even I think government, how effectively could use the geospatial technologies and in specific GIS. What about private segments? Do you have any value adding use cases in terms of the retail or hospitality, banking? how these
Yes.
geospatial technologies can be used.
Yes. Okay. Let's talk about
Can,
insurance sector, for instance.
can you highlight use cases and benefits?
Yes. Let's talk about insurance in the commercial. Whenever there's any major disaster, if let's say there's a cyclone developing, and as the engineers and scientists are tracking the movement of the cyclone, insurance companies try to monitor which areas are going to be impacted by the cyclone, where will the landfall occur, with what intensity, and which of the properties insured by them are likely to come in harm's way, so that they are prepared to deal with the claims that are going to come up after the cyclone. In case of banking, they do extensive analysis of the coverage of the complete client base. Where are the branches located or ATMs located? What's the service area? Which are the white spaces where there is the need for a new ATM or a branch to be located? Retail companies do customer profiling based on the footprint they get, and also targeted marketing. So, for instance, if you have good quality data sets, and a lot of those are available now, even in our country, with those data sets, the marketing department of a, let's say, FMCG can define what is the target customer for a certain product.
Okay.
And with this, you could determine where are those customers located, so that the marketing is more focused and not diffused.
Fantastic. That's good. Yeah. So I think we got a brief understanding of the geospatial technologies benefits in the personal life and by the government and the private sector. But the implementation is not as easy as we speak, right? So could you please highlight what are the 4 or 5 phases of this technological implementation and challenges?
Yeah, sure. Yes, sir. If you look at smart cities, for instance, as an example, this whole smart city mission is about urban transformation. And I'm sure you would agree that any transformational project should start with business process reengineering. And just going for automation. Automation can improve efficiency and performance, but you won't get breakthroughs. For breakthroughs to occur, you have to look at the existing processes, re-engineer those processes, and then see what are the touch points for technology. So I would say start with that. And after that, you build a common data model. Because once you set up a GIS platform, it'll have to source data from multiple servers, different departments in the city, utilities, transportation, or let's say disaster response and so on. Therefore, the platform should be open-ended, open architecture, should be able to access data wherever it's residing, overlay it and render it as a service. So that's the next thing I would recommend. Build it around a common data model, which is open and extensible. Standards-based, very, very important. And often users don't really assign enough importance to the aspect, which is your entire design should be, your architecture should be standards-based so that it's interoperable and you can access data from multiple sources and seamlessly integrate it with the base platform, base data that you have. Next step, I guess, would be application development, looking at existing applications, customizing them, creating new applications, including both citizen-centric in case of cities and also process engineering within for use by department. You should also focus, and this is something which is often not given enough importance, is staff training. Because you may engage a system integrator who would come implement the whole system and then go away. The staff should be able to adopt the technology and make use of it on an ongoing basis. So staff training to me is an extremely important aspect of any system and implementation, be it GIS or any other. Last but not the least, data maintenance. See, as they say, change is the only constant, and we see so much change happening in our cities. Whatever data you create today, within a few months, the data will be obsolete. And therefore, a mechanism to keep the data current.
Fantastic.
Should be incorporated in the process itself. So that
I think it's a wonderful framework, Rajesh. I think you talk about the process re-engineering. We cannot just simply only have interventions, just small fixes and all. So if we want to leverage not only geospatial, in my view, I think any technology or confusion of technologies, we have to re-engineer. Then we need to have the open platform for the data and the technology platform. Then we need to have standards, and we need to have the applications development and integration. Then most importantly, you highlighted about the skill development. They need to reorient. And the last one is very critical. As you rightly said, data change is constant. I think, and instant nowadays. I think that's where we are saying it's not only constant. In our when we started our career, we used to listen about change is constant, but now it is instant. So, so I think
Absolutely.
wonderful. Yeah. So now this one, whether private agencies or public sector. So let us take if this phases to be implemented. Okay, what you suggest the changes needs to be brought in, or if government side any policies needs to be changed. What recommendations you think from IIT side, which you already highlighted in the white paper? I'm sure whatever you are speaking, it is very much detailed information is available in your white
Oh,
paper.
yeah, much
So
more, much more.
much more. So could you please highlight what you think now if we want to have this 5-phase, 6-phase approach to be successful? So what recommendations we can give in terms of the policies or people or processes, infrastructure, attitude, culture, all. So what do you
All of
think?
that. Well, in one sentence, all of that. But I guess the first challenge we often face, and I can speak from our own experience, is data sharing. You know, a lot of data is lying in silos in organizations and in case of a city in different departments. And there's a not hesitation but reluctance on part of users to share their data. So
Okay.
the thing that's happened in the recent policy, which has been announced by the government in form of guidelines and also a draft policy, is they are mandating share of data which is created both in government and private sector. I
Hmm.
think that has been a huge challenge, lack of collaboration and lack of data sharing. My recommendation would be that should be mandated as has been done now by the government through the policy. And second should be mandate the adoption of standards so that the data that's shared is interoperable. The third is more focus on capacity building.
Hmm.
Also, you know, one of the big challenges, I'm sure VSI you would agree, is change management for any organization.
Yeah.
Everyone has to live in the comfort zone and change is resisted. And when you do transformation project like smart cities or any other project for that matter, there's resistance to that. And the leadership has to make sure that that change can be implemented with total consensus.
Right.
One of the term I've often heard is digital transformation starts with people transformation.
Hmm.
People transformation, one aspect would be training and capacity building. Second would be willingness and interest in adopting that change, which is
Right.
required. And last but not the least, data maintenance and data updation as a part of it.
Excellent. I think if you look at Rajesh, from our experience, we are from corporate or private agencies. If it is a complete re-engineering and transforming our organization, it is a 2 to 3 year journey. Unfortunately, some of the leaders expect it to happen in few months. Any private sector will happen 2 to 3 years. In government, it happens 10 years to 15 years, sometimes 20 years. Unfortunately, okay, now the speed may increase because of the rapid adoption of the technologies and all, because there are so many systems, so many processes, so many policies. I mean, a lot of change needs to be brought in. So now the key question is, I think whatever you mentioned, the recommendations, how to accelerate that change, especially in the government, which also should be less than 2 to 3 years. I think, again, they have to get into the next way of working because now it's not like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, there is constant systems and processes will be there. So the way this slowness will become, speed is the most key point for our India to become the top developed countries, I think. So what do you think? And we could conclude with these remarks.
My one more my recommendation would be see what is the delay in project implementation. Let's assume that funds are not the issue. Budgets have been allocated. I can talk in context of GIS, and you wouldn't find much difference in other technologies space either. The one is doing a full design. The whole approach of design thinking has to be incorporated. How you design the existing processes, and also very quickly build a common data model. my recommendation would be don't go for bespoke development in terms of technology implementation. Most of the processes in organizations like smart cities are pretty much standardized. And so take a template approach. I can speak for Esri. We have a whole bunch of templates that we develop for specific solutions, and I'm sure others too have similar templates. Go
Okay.
for templates, configure the templates and adopt them quickly. And package the whole thing, that will definitely speed up the whole process.
I think I used to, when I was managing one of the business units, which is very huge, I used to tell my team, if any ordinary person has to become an extraordinary person, the tools, the accelerators and templates, best practices, lessons learned, which is emerging from the past experience of the people. I think you ordinary person can do extraordinary things because there is a template available. You don't need to worry about it. Others' failure become a lessons learned. Other success become a best practice. So I think, as you rightly said, for India, what is required for every initiative, a set of a toolkit, okay, which includes all these tools, standards, processes, accelerators, lessons learned, best practices. Thank you so much, Rajesh. I think this is wonderful. I hope your white paper will reach thousands of audience and they get a lot of value. So IET is so much excited to work with you. Thanks for all your support.
Thank you, VSR. Wonderful interaction. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.